Sam, you want to lead us out?
Hi, Matt. Guys, happy Tuesday. It's almost ending. I was thinking about this just the minutes before that. We should at least take 15 to 20 minutes, pick one ROS topic or something related, whether it could be on the software side or as long as it's related to the ROS or building things. We can talk about it like 15, 20 minutes almost every time. And then we can have the community time. We can have also the project time where anyone wants to talk about on the project, or if they're working on the project and want to share, want to get some ideas on it, or anything like that. So we should organize something like that.
How do you feel about that's a great idea, Sam, like have like ROS packages or something about ROS where we can talk about that and learn, and then projects, and then just like a community open forum where we can just talk about whatever's coming up. And exactly. Then maybe we could have a presentation for one night. But what do you think about like having a theme? Like the first Tuesday is the ROS topic, and second Tuesday, third Tuesday, and then we just kind of fill in the calendar.
Yeah, and it works that way too. Because I definitely feel like that sometimes we see the gap, and if we can squeeze in like anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, if someone's talking about anything on ROS, even a sort of the anything related engineering principles, some of the theories, some of the new things which can be utilized, so some of the fundamentals which would help probably you design something in ROS or something. So anything like that. Even we can entertain anything in Python. Obviously, I do the Python, so I'm not sure about the community. But if anything is interesting in Python, any design patterns that you you want to recommend while you were actually working on ROS and stuff, that would be so much useful for the people to get started as we go along into some complex topics kind of a deal. I think we should start something like this.
Okay. How does that sound to everyone?
That sounds great. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
It would be really great if we can have some guest speakers. I know
you like the guest speakers?
I did. It was interesting to have an outside perspective. It helps a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see other packages.
Yes, absolutely. And get some more perspectives on how we can utilize those in terms of farming and agriculture.
I also like Sam's idea of not just raw space, but having a bit of everything, like engineering or some concepts that aren't ROS concepts, but that's maybe something that's ROS built upon. There are really interesting things that the creators had considered when they were making ROS, and there are several other things that they are considering right now. There's really great discussions going on Discourse where they are making decisions on how they want to shape the ROS 2 to be. I mean, most of them have been done, or they have taken into consideration most of it, but I think there's still a lot more to be done and a lot more to be discussed. So that would be interesting to just take a look at what the ROS community is doing and where they are hoping, and maybe then we can have a perspective in terms of agriculture and put in our thoughts so that ROS 2 is even simpler for agrobots.
Excellent. Great suggestion. Jeff, what's your thoughts? You have any items or things to, this is just an open forum general meeting. Means no agenda.
Well, I missed the first part of what was going on here, but I don't know that I really have anything to show off right at the moment or to discuss. Oh, I did notice that SwiftNav just released another version of software today, and it adds more satellites and claims it locks on faster. But I haven't downloaded to try it, so I don't know. But if anybody's interested, that is out now.
And that's on the multi?
Yes, the multi or the Duro, which is basically just the multi in a fancy box.
I'm sure they would like that characterization.
Yeah, they probably would. Although it does also have that cell modem built into it, which we haven't tried using. And it may let us talk to the outside world through that or not, but I haven't seen enough documentation or experimented to see if that actually works or not.
I noticed that the update claims full functionality. That was the change. So apparently this is it. That this is what they've been planning on for a long time. I'm looking forward to upgrading.
They did mention they've turned off SSH and something else that you can't do anymore, and they said it's to plan for their next major release, whatever it was. So if you're still trying to develop with it, you want to stick with one of the older ones.
Oh, ouch. I'm glad you said that. I didn't notice it. Okay.
But as far as I know, you can downgrade again at any point. So
It would be bad if it were as Apple.
but if you're just going to use it as a GPS, there's no reason not to upgrade. But if you're actually trying to get into it and do development, then you may want to think about that. I keep watching the U-Blocks, that new chip that's supposed to be coming out, that was supposed to come out the end of last month, and they haven't made any more announcements yet. So that's the one I think it's going to change the whole world if they come out with that one.
The F9?
Yes.
I expect it will not be as great as I had originally hoped.
Why is that?
Apparently they're not able to push it out the door to the with the functionality that they originally hyped, or at least the functionality that I was hoping for.
Well, we shall see.
I'm hopeful. I would love it, but for now the Pixie is my plan. I'm working on an airplane tug, so it's really boring and has nothing to do with robots, except that it uses a motor that I actually bought for a robot. I was cleaning the shop and decided that I was really tired of my gas engine on this, and so I don't know if you can see, I put a little electric motor on it. So works like a champ in here, but we'll see if it pulls a 5,000-pound plane.
That's very interesting.
Colin,
I will say.
Oh, go ahead.
I will say one more thing. Here, Serena, will you hold this, please? Always use the child when when doing dangerous demonstrations. Here, move up. Can you drop that? Hold this. Can you hold that? Is that? Oh, it's gonna be heavy, isn't it? So I got a hub motor. And I got a 48-volt battery, and it turns out I was wondering how these would work, and one of the competitors at the AgBot Challenge had one, or well, had two, and so he said, okay, don't hold it there, hold it there. He said that he was just using them like brushless DC motors, and sure enough, it doesn't take much to control them. So I've got a bunch of different brushless DC controllers coming in. This one is the one that came with it for an e-bike. Yeah, but I put a simple lithium e-bike battery on it and the handlebar control, and it just works so far. So I'm hopeful that I can. I've got an O drive and a VESC controller coming in. Seems like I probably got two of the VESCs. The O drive is programmable in Python, so that appeals to me. Yeah, and there's something else that I was looking at. Anyway, the competitor at AgBot, Sohin, you might remember that, the small robot that was in the tent.
Right, PD Precision.
Yeah, yep, PD, thank you.
Yeah.
He was using some hub motors, and he had some issues with them. I feel like, what was it, one or two of them burnt out? He was down to, what was?
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. He was
They were
down to
our neighbors,
power.
though.
Okay. He didn't have a lot of power with it because of some problems, but I liked that he was able to use it. It certainly simplifies the drivetrain if you can just put the motor in the wheel and apply power. So I'm trying to learn about brushless motors, and this is my foray into that.
Is that the hub motors similar to the DC motor?
Similar to the what motor?
A DC motor?
No, it is a brushless DC, so it is more similar to an AC. Yeah,
I see. So it will need the ESCs to control it.
Yes. Yep. It needs some kind of ESC. Yeah. And that's the mystery to me right now, how those all work and how all the sensors work.
Oh,
so some controllers will work without sensors poorly or not suboptimally. This one has some Hall effect sensors in it. Yeah, there are at least, I think, at least 3 kinds of sensors, maybe 4. So 3 different types of sensors. So I'm really curious how it's going to be to move between controllers with a motor. So that's why I got a couple controllers, a couple generic ones. The O drive especially seems to be able to pick up basically anything you throw at it, and it'll just figure it out, or run without one, without feedback. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll feel a lot more knowledgeable about brushless DC motors once I get this working.
Does the hub motor have some sort of encoder in there?
Yep, it has a Hall effect Yeah. I don't think I have much more than that on it. I need to put a scope on it and figure out what it's really doing. I also did buy the two motors that the O drive that they sell. So they're using brushless motors, and then they slap an encoder on it. So they use the cheap hobby style brushless motors, slap an encoder on it and call it a servo, which is really cool. So I would rather do that than get into stepper motors. That feels like the way industry is going. Use the brushless and use an encoder.
Use the brushless DCs in my previous work, where I was working with some of the quadcopters, where you have to actually program the ESCs. You can get the feedback, but depending on the kV of the motors, that how it really actually spins fast. Like some of those can get up to 30,000 RPMs. So
yeah,
they're really fast and precise, and plus they use the three-phase AC somehow, and then that's control the PWMs. Basically, the ESC takes the PWM to control it. That's what I know about those BLDC motors.
Yep. There's some pretty crazy stuff you can do with this. I found a copter blade patent just recently that instead of using a swash plate like you would on a typical helicopter, they get all the control out of free flapping rotors by pulsing. They pulse the motors very precisely at the same point in the rotation each time, and that causes the rotors to deflect as desired. So they can get away with this incredibly simple and very efficient design for a helicopter, like a coaxial helicopter, just by using the motors as the controllers for what I would call the cyclic and the collective, I guess.
Why are brushless better than the brushed motors?
Why are brushless better? So with brushed, you get this kind of control, obviously. So if you want to control very precisely how the motor turns, brushless is there, and you get an encoder as part of it. You don't have brushes. That seems obvious, but it's a big deal as far as reliability. It turns out to be a fairly big deal as far as weight in some situations, like the drones. And as Sam said, they can go super fast. I suppose brushed might be able to do that, but when you're using brushed, you're getting sparks, and so you have both the friction of the brushes, and then you have the sparks with the brushes, and so those are detrimental to your system. And brushless has become cheap because of all the quadcopters. They're amazingly inexpensive for the power. So yeah, I'm excited about seeing what I can do with them. I'm finding things like 5 kilowatt brushless. The Chinese are doing some pretty crazy stuff with brushless. So you can go to 10 watt. I know, or 10 kilowatt. I know they've got bigger ones. There's also, oh, go ahead.
Efficiency. They're more efficient. Brushless are more efficient, but they are costlier.
Are they more costly? Because, well, for one, you can build brushless DC motors. So you can 3D print them, put your own, do your own winding, do your own magnets. People are building, I think I have seen I want to say like a 5K printed brushless motor. You can look on YouTube.
Yes.
It's I have definitely, I'm pretty sure maybe the 5K watt might have been one that also included laser cut steel. So that's a little different. But brushless can be pretty simple. So I would like to think that the price is going to be less than a brushed motor.
The key is to have the ECU. That thing costs more. So like you definitely need a brushless. Like if you want to run a brushless, you need an ECU. So in a combined cost, if you get a motor controller, it's going to be cheaper. But I think yeah, brushless will be a great alternative, and it has proven to be a great alternative. I just shared a link to this person. He's been making an open source ECU, so you can make your own ECU, which is pretty cool because it's cheap when you make your own. And then
Is that the VESC?
yes,
I'm not looking at it. Okay. Yep. I ordered one from China and one from somewhere else, so I should have those. And then there's another one that's a derivative of that. I think it's like the Flock box or something. I can't remember the name right now. But yeah, open source is taking off with brushless.
I agree. It's really cool. He's used it for a skateboard, and I've never used a skateboard. I would like to have a skateboard now, just because it uses a brushless.
Yep.
Sohin, you said the open source ESCs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Whatever. Yeah, I just shared the link with you on the chat. Check it out. He has some really cool videos and everything. I was looking at them earlier.
Sure.
Awesome. Colin, what's going on in your world? Are you studying for your MIT test?
Nothing really in particular, but I'm just enjoying the explanation of things like this. You'll be surprised that even basic things like CAN bus is still a buzzword for me. So anything that I pick up, I'm trying to get to the bottom to understand what it is, what does it do, and so on, by listening to videos and reading some articles. So this particular topic that is being discussed is also very, very, very important to know that there are a number of motors that you need to look at. What would be interesting is what functionality are we trying to fulfill? What do they do? So you guys can continue discussing, and yeah, and I'm starting that. I have a question for Sonia. I thought Sonia, how did you pick up so much knowledge about electrics and designs and stuff like that? Were you combining it as part of your course?
Well, I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, but I was always drawn to stuff like this. So I've been reading. I've learned electronics online, honestly. And then you just dabble around and you blow something up, and then you learn.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. There's a full course on instructables on electronics, and also Khan Academy has got a full course on electronics as well. So
Yes.
that's what I spent some space doing.
Instructables was something that I started off with when I was in my bachelor's program. I remember making this voice controlled LED thing where you play music and then it picks up with a mic, and then the LEDs dance as per like music does. So it was interesting, but that's how I learned soldering, because that was a really difficult project to solder. And I had no idea. I just got a soldering kit and then I just started on with it.
I'm, I'm finding it interesting as well because they also got very good courses on Arduinos, as well as you have an opportunity to see the projects being done by others. The other day I was reading about someone working on autonomous motorbike. Wow, I I never thought there was such a thing as autonomous motorbike. And he put out all his material, what he had to go through, and reasons why he couldn't do this and the other. So Matt, back to you. I'm trying to pick up the pieces and try to make sense of almost everything. In fact, I feel that the MIT is holding me back on things I should be working on, because I'm already cool on my. I've done already my projects on programming, so I'm comfortable with programming, but I'm no longer pursuing certificates. If I can do things with what I've learned, that's good enough for me. I'm not looking for anyone to employ me to earn some cash. So it's taxing. The MIT is taxing. Interesting at the end, but it's prohibiting me to spend as much time as I would want to spend on ROS, instructables, on Khan electronics, and also I'm picking up, brushing up on mathematics, so that I fully appreciate aspects to do with controls, the PID mechanisms and stuff like that. So there isn't much from me to say.
Well, that was good. The electronics, the classes on Khan Academy, Instructables, that's helpful. Everybody's got to start and you got to learn. So you're right on track.
Thank you.
Sohin, what's happening in your world?
Well, I just started my semester. I'm excited about it because I'm taking a course on real-time operating systems. So trying to get into the more really specifics of robotics, where they are being used, trying to understand how real-time operating systems work rather than just pseudo real-time like ROS or other operating systems that we use. Those critical applications where, I know they're used in aerospace and biomedicine and medicinal robots. They program embedded systems and they use embedded systems instead of. So I'm just trying to learn. I'm really excited about it. I do want to start working on my personal robot, but I haven't found the time or the funds to pursue that. I was looking at some. I was just trying to find this the servo motors Kyler had suggested the other day. I did find them, but hoping to order them some other ways rather than from US. Trying to order them from China, trying to get them cheap. I do want to start making I want something that has wheels, but it also I want it to be able to grasp things for me. So I'm looking at a design that will have something like a base that moves, and then a robot arm, and then I want to see into using the robot arm with more sensors than they actually have. So what I want to do is install more sensors and control the arm based on sensor input rather than, matrix. Usually you just control an arm with a matrix, and then you have a third person view of the entire area. I mean, that's all the projects I've seen so far. Like they have a camera and then they just use a, a third person view of the environment, and then they use the robot to control it. But what I want to try and do, I'm not going to be able to succeed in this within the next 2 years. Uh, but I want to learn how to do that just out of, for the fun of it, trying to move it so the camera moves with the arm because it's on the arm. So have a first person view of the object and try to grasp it. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that's something that I want to dabble into.
That's fun. And have you looked at some arms?
I have looked at some arms. There are a few open source arms that you can 3D print by yourself. I don't feel they're as great. They all use steppers, which are cheaper, but I'm really sold on the idea of using a servo.
You need to
Excellent.
visit sometime, so and set you up with an arm.
I would try that for sure. Well, I'm going to Chicago on this Friday. I'll drop by.
Sounds good.
I'll text you. Thanks, Tyler.
Put that arm on the Husky base. Drive that around.
That.
I would love to see it used.
I'll.
I think, doesn't Boston Dynamics have that dog-looking robot that does the chicken head? Doesn't it have a camera in the arm?
I don't think so. I'm not aware of that, but it looks pretty solid. The arm doesn't look. I mean, that's Boston Dynamics, so they must have been able to do it. They have so much manpower and resources to be able to do that. But they're really cool. I saw those robots, like, wow. But yeah, that's something that I want to do.
It's good. You can pick tomatoes or apples or
Yeah.
grapes one by one.
Yeah, have them fed to me.
A fan in another arm.
But yeah, something I've been dreaming of.
What do you want your robot to do, Sohin?
It's a
What
personal
do you
goal.
want the arm to do?
I really want to just have. So I like making one. So it would be just my leisure time, and I just want to be able to do some interesting stuff. I don't have any specific problem to solve. That's how I'm looking at it right now. Because if I start to solve a problem, it becomes business.
Maybe what Matt is talking about is I looked at because I'm going into citrus as well, and I looked at the possibilities of robot picking up my oranges, and instead of having a bunch of people where I am, I'm next to a mining company. So we compete for labor, and you can imagine how much I have to pay to attract labor, especially if I'm growing seed for a seed house. To do a detasseling of the maize stalks, I need a bunch of people. Now, if I've got to pick oranges, I also need a bunch of people. So I'm looking forward one day to when robots will begin to be able to identify an apple, identify an orange, and pick it up.
I think your problem has been solved, or there are several people trying to solve that problem. I've seen so many videos of on YouTube of robots trying to pick things up from a plant while identifying if they are ripened. So it was pretty impressive. I saw a strawberry being picked out, and also saw an apple. So you should, yeah, it's coming.
Uh, I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
Try and find it for you while I can.
Well, the real problem
Aid
Sohin,
business.
sorry. Go on, Carl.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Come again. So,
No, I was saying the real problem is some of these solutions just being developed, they're more proprietary. We need something a little bit more open source so that,
yeah.
probably people can start utilizing some of those solutions by creating their own, the small robots and stuff. So if you, I'm now constantly look for it. Like if I see something in terms of the software, someone release something open source and make it open source that we can actually always discuss about it. That probably would add a lot of value. And there'll be something that if someone's working on it and making it open source, it'd be fantastic.
We need a simple problem, Colin, like mowing. Do you use grass in your orchard for weed abatement?
Come again, Nate.
Grasping fruit picking is a difficult task. So if we get a little bit easier job, like is there an easier task that we could start using robots, like mowing up and down orchard rows, or something like that?
No, yeah, for me, that's not for me. Picking apples, that's not for me yet. I'm just amusing in terms of from a business perspective in future. But for me, I'm not even thinking of doing one. Why would I want to do apple picking before I can make my tractor do the basic work in the field? That would be the first area. Obviously, in terms of approach, I need to get the lawnmower going. If the lawnmower goes, then I know certain things are done on the lawnmower I can do on bigger things. And then as I grow, one day I'll be able to say, look, I'm looking at new things like his son Sohin is saying. But for me, I'm not going to jump the gun and start bigger things before I've done smaller things.
What's the first
thing
I'm
you want? Aware of.
What's the first thing you want your robot to do?
I showed you last week on the Coursera. We have done things like robots with the Arduino Uno using LED. And the next thing I have is that four-wheeled car. I've bought the car kit for it.
Yep.
And it should be running around and avoiding obstacles. So that's what I need to be doing. That I'll do in the office. And once I get to grip of things, I'll then go out to the. My problem, Matt, at this stage is I say to myself, electronics, I'm becoming a little bit comfortable. But I'm saying to get anything moving, what design changes do I need to make? I saw your lawnmower the other day and the mechanical changes that you have made. So I've not yet reached a stage where I know where to make mechanical changes. Even if I may understand things about actuator and so on, but how do you make that mechanical change? So I still need to understand that. Whereas because I'm not a mechanical, I don't have mechanical, I'm not mechanical minded. I know I can access. You'll be surprised that I've got a company, we import engines from Germany, and I make locomotives for the sugar industry in Zimbabwe. So I've got the guys who can do some stuff for me, but I need to go with a clear request of what I want. What exactly do you want done? When I'm clear on that, I know to get it done will not be difficult. But I just need, you know where I'm coming from. Because of where I'm coming from, I'm literally learning everything. So
Yeah.
Am I making sense? Or
Yes.
I'm scared of the non-existent beast?
Yeah, I think it's great that you're so you know you're putting in so much work to get this going, and you're starting from zero. So it's very impressive. So
Thank you.
keep going. You're doing great.
Thank you very much.
Another 10 years, you're going to feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And people will be wondering how come I know so much when I'm not
Exactly.
an engineer.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm learning from all of you. You know, just the mentioning of a brushless motor it sent me wondering, because apparently I've been reading about brushless motors that, you know, when you start looking at certain websites, you hook things you didn't think you would do, would come to you, and people begin to forward things to you. And there's a particular website that constantly sending me stuff on motors. So I was quite curious when Kyla was explaining brushless motors is looking at. Yeah.
I think you guys have been incredibly helpful, just talking and helping solve problems and suggesting different ideas and different approaches. You can learn a lot faster with in a community than trying each of the individual things yourself.
Is it also possible, you made the suggestions at the beginning, where we could discuss ROS, how ROS works, and the things we need to look out for, and the turtle boat, the significance of it, even though I don't have one running around on my screen yet. It also helps, because at the end of the day, we are trying to promote ROS. I've seen many advertisements which is basing the appointment on the understanding of ROS for engineers who are looking for robotics type of work. So we need to have emphasis on ROS, so that our systems that we come up with are also ROS based. And the fact that people are demanding ROS, there are some good things about ROS. What confuses me is there is ROS 1 and then there is ROS 2. What has happened to ROS 1? What's wrong with ROS 1? Why are we on ROS 2? Things like that. We need to know, why are we going on to ROS 2? Just clarity on those things. You tell people that I learned that on ROS, on our ROS meeting, then they say, here there's ROS 2. What is the ROS 2 all about? then you go blank, as if you lie that you sometimes discuss with people on Ross meeting things that concerns Ross. So Ross needs to be like our major subject when working on the things we are working on.
I just shared a really nice document about why we're moving forward to ROS 2. I think it would be of great help. If not, I mean, I think it's really nicely written.
Yeah. Will this be available later on the web?
Yeah, it'll be on the YouTube video. All of these links get posted on the YouTube video and then also in the Slack channel.
All right. Okay.
There is a little bit of a delay, and you can go to the chat. On the right-hand side, there's a More button, and then you can download the chat. Thanks to Jeff for pointing that out.
Has anyone tried ROS 2 yet to see if it works out?
I tried it on this. It's a Earl Brain.
Did it work?
It booted. Yeah, I mean, but at the time I did it, there weren't very many packages, so I just basically created a talker and a listener just to like test it. And then I haven't used it in maybe a year and a half. There's this ROS bridge in between ROS 2 and ROS 1, and so you can still use all your ROS 1 packages, and then it just gets transferred over to ROS 2. So there'll be this, I don't know if this is true or not, but I kind of see it as like this little blending time for the next 5 years or so, where you're still kind of using some old stuff and then using the new stuff, but it'll work together.
I think the bridge is fully operational now.
Excellent.
I was just looking at their GitHub, and I think it is operational. Okay.
My only fear is hope we're not ended up Python 2 and Python 3 sort of battle, with ROS 1 and ROS 2.
Are they moving to Python 3 with ROS 2?
I'm not sure at this point, but what I'm saying is I don't want to see that Python 2 and Python 3 things happening also in ROS 1 and ROS 2. If we're moving, I think we should move completely and cleanly. Right now, what I go by is usually I take a look at the packages. And wherever the maximum packages are, I wanted to use that version at this point because it has more functionality and the people are still actively creating and supporting the packages.
I think the Python version is a feature of ROS 2. Matt, I think it is Python 3, but double check me.
Yeah, it's got to be, Tyler. I agree just based on the fact that the 2 points, I'm not sure if Python 2 or 2.7 is ending 2020, their official support ending 2020 or something. So it means that everyone has to migrate over to the Python 3. And so probably we're looking at maybe 2 years at the most.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine that we're not all going to ROS 2 somehow.
Yeah.
One way or another.
I agree.
I was asked recently, Sohin can talk about real-time performance, and that's ROS 2 is the answer to that, as I understand. And I was asked recently about multi-machine coordination, and I said, oh yeah, there are ways to do it in ROS 2, in ROS 1, but ROS 2 apparently has some much better answers. I think needs like that are just going to drive us there very quickly.
That'd be cool.
It is definitely exciting. If you just read through it, it's very exciting. I mean, it is certainly the future, and everyone's really working hard on it. So I'm more than excited. Also, they're going to support Windows this time, so I would assume there's going to be a lot of more users driving to ROS
Ah,
because there's Windows, and some people just like to have Windows on their machine, or some people don't want to mess around with the systems two different to have they just don't like to have two different systems. And I think we may attract those people who want to contribute to the community but just are reluctant to download an Ubuntu or who just want to get into robotics. So I think it's really moving forward to and I'm very, very optimistic of seeing lots of robots just like mobile phones.
mhm.
I'm looking forward to that future.
Yeah, I think they've been very restrictive to say if you want to come to ROS, you must use Linux and you must load Ubuntu before you can use ROS. I was actually seriously thinking of having a separate laptop for ROS where I load what is needed for ROS so that I don't mess up my things that are on Windows. Because from the look of it, it appears like Windows is not comfortable with Ubuntu working together. But I just want to make sure that I separate the two. When I'm looking at ROS, just ROS on its own machine. But it would be most welcome improvement if we could have a system that allows uh, anyone to operate from anywhere. Yeah.
Having a dedicated ROS laptop that's running Linux is helpful. It just takes away some of the complexity and problems.
Yeah, that I thought about that, and I said, look, I don't want to be reconciling between the two. What must I do? What must I avoid, and so on. So just get a dedicated machine. If I'm going to be working on robots going forward, here's the machine for robots. If I'm writing programs for my other things, this is what I use. And that decision I've made.
And I also see use of Canvas more dominant over other uh, interfaces, and I would like the community to talk about that as well because I think Canvas is superior, but it's also costly, I think, and it might be interesting to know how it may help in the future.
I just found, I think it was called the A21 or C21 chip. Seems like Cortex. I don't remember if I bought a couple. But it's a little ARM microcontroller with 2 CAN buses on it. And I'll try to find it. But it was maybe 25, it was in euros, something on the order of $25. I've had a hard time finding CAN bus equipment that's not crazy expensive. In fact, I just bought a couple more Kvasser interfaces yesterday, and I got them for, what was it, like I forget. They're normally like $800 each. They're just crazy, and I got them at a bargain. It shouldn't cost that much, but CAN seems to be expensive in some places.
Yeah, I think it's because Bosch invented it and they're just trying to monetize on their invention. I don't know, it's just my thoughts. But
Yeah, but you can get something like the Canard. I've got a couple of those. I've got a few of those around, and they're on the order of 20, 25 bucks. They're open source, so you can build them if you want. But to me, the real fun is going to start when I can get systems with CAN built in to small systems. There were some things I wanted to do on my Combine, and I kept thinking, oh, if I just could tap into the CAN bus, all I need is CAN and power. It's already there. Instead, I have to run another line for, the Cannibal. I've got the Cannibal or the Canard. I think I've got both. I don't know. I think one's a clone of the other. CAN is the way to go.
Jeff, didn't you find some like $2 CAN devices? Are those, I mean, maybe they're not, or for low speed?
Well, you can buy a transceiver board for about $2, but you have to put it onto a processor. So this one that I just posted here has some kind of a ARM processor and the transceiver built into it. And those were out of stock, and just in the last couple of days they put them back in stock again. And it's real nice because they're really cheap, so you can get a couple to play with, and it's nice to have two, and that way you can talk to yourself, plug them both into the computer and have them talk to each other, and that way you can verify everything's running, and they're cheap enough to do that, as opposed to getting the expensive ones that run you hundreds of dollars a piece just because it has a fancy name on it.
Yeah, and that's the problem too. Right?
Really are nice. They do buffering. If you want to get something with buffering to do high speed, you're going to pay a lot more. I don't understand why it's that much more, but it seems pretty across the board when I look at different CAN interfaces. Anywhere I go, that they're buffered and high speed, it seems like it's expensive. So I feel like there's got to be something to it. They're not just ripping us off, I hope.
You're selling it for $800 when you can buy it for $200 or $2.
It's the speed.
Or 25.
Yeah, but the speed is the issue.
Okay. So are you guys running 250 baud, 250K baud mostly on your CAN buses? It just depends.
That's what Danfoss runs as a standard. And today we just ran into a problem where if we have the Danfoss service tool, which is a piece of software, when it goes out and scans the bus to see who's out there, it crashes our Linux driver. So we're right in the middle of trying to figure out what's wrong with that. And it might be the adapter we've got, or it might be somebody pointed out, well, it could be the software isn't written correctly and it's outputting way too much data. So, but that's just this afternoon we ran into that. So we got some more stuff to look into on that. And determine if it is, if the little cheap adapters are fast enough, or do we have to get something fancy to run that?
So you're even having a problem at 250? Go ahead.
Oh, John Deere changed the speed of their CAN bus at some point, but the speed of their radio CAN bus didn't change. So every time you install a radio, it crashes the tractor. Anyway, so you're not the only one feeling the pain.
Kyla, I wanted to ask you a question. I've seen some of your videos. Have you been able to get your combine to go on its own into the field as you've done with the tractors?
The combine's tricky. So yeah, I can run it on its own. I have to put a 50-pound weight on the seat. The issue, I can control everything. That's not a problem. The issue is, as soon as I bypass the combine's steering controller and sending my own steering commands directly to the valve, it senses that the steering wheels are turning, but the steering wheel isn't turning. And then starts flagging errors and it won't do guidance anymore. So it's an all or nothing approach where, yeah. So I didn't do it because as soon as I do that, I lose things like the head, row sensing, that sort of thing. So I never did it, but yeah, it's possible.
Great. We're at the top of the hour tonight. It's fun seeing everybody. Interesting topics. Learned a little. Hope you guys did too. And you guys have a great week.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Matt.
You guys,
Yeah,
good night.
Bye.